Hello and welcome to AXSChat. I'm delighted that we're joined today by Morten Bonde. Morten works for Lego Group and has a great history of working in graphic design, but also a great backstory. And I think that when you learn a bit more about what Morten's done and some of the things that he's done with Lego Group, I think that you're going to really enjoy this chat today. So Morten, great to have you with us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you came to be in the field of talking about accessibility and disability?
Yeah, my name is Morten, obviously, and first of all, thank you for inviting me here. I've been looking forward to it, and I am a senior art director. That is my title, and I work for the Lego agency, which is the internal setup, communication setup in the Lego Group. And yeah, I've been there for 12 years and writing stories about the heroes of Lego City, and which has been quite a wonderful and amazing journey. And the reason why I am how can you say this? In 2002, I was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a genetic eye disorder that slowly makes you go blind. And the way that works is that you slowly, over the years, lose your vision in a tunnel almost. So today I have almost. This is just to show you, this is how I see today. So I have to sort of aim at specifically what I want to look at, and then I can actually see it fairly well. But a lot of things that I don't see. So I come across as someone who can see, but most of what's out there I don't see. So that's kind of strange. So you can say that involuntarily I've been dragged into the field of accessibility because I have to sort of familiarize myself with what's out there, what's available, and how can I train myself to, do a lot of things despite of becoming blind. So that was a real short version.
No, thank you. And what's interesting is, of course, we working in the field, we're familiar with RP, which is obviously the short name for retinitis pigmentosa. But you're right, it is quite a rare condition. But funnily enough, I've worked with quite a lot of people in the graphic design field with RP. So
okay.
So I guess you've also written a book, and
Yep.
when we talked before, you also talked a little bit about the sort of sense of what's going to happen when my work is so visual, and the one thing that I'm losing is the thing that's connected to my work. So how did you initially deal with that process, and then what came, and at what point did you decide I need to write a book about this?
In 2002 I was diagnosed, and then back then my strategy was to just ignore it. Like I was 29, and being told that you're going to be blind is like, I get out of here. I don't want to hear this. So I just pretended that was not the case, and I just continued life. And the sneaky thing with RP is that it just sneaks in on you. You don't, if you're not really aware, it just slowly becomes more and more difficult to live. And basically that was what happened to me, because I wasn't able to feel myself through all those years. So in 2016, I totally crashed and burned with stress and depression, and I didn't even know why. I had to go to the ophthalmologist, and he looked at me, and he made this eye test, and he said, "Are you aware that you are legally blind?" And I said, "Oh no, I'm not." He said, "Okay, you have 4 degrees of vision left, and if you have less than 10 degrees, then you are legally blind." And I said, "Oh." And then I asked, can that somehow be related to the stress and the depression and all that? And said, "Of course. What are you doing?" I'm an art director working with visual and graphic design. He said, what? Oh my God, you must be kind of a superhero or whatever. And I said, I never really saw it like that because I always felt that I was lacking behind and I was the slow guy and I had to do everything, prepare much more. But actually, yeah, you're kind of right. That's pretty insane being legally blind and then work with communication, visual communication. So I stopped and I looked at myself and I realized that, I couldn't change that I was becoming blind. That was just a given. But then I said to myself, can I somehow train myself to change my perspective on becoming blind? And that was easier said than done. So I had to take myself through a long process where I got into meditation, mindfulness, meditation, neuroscience, biology, physics, everything that could get my hand on that would help me to figure out how could I change this autopilot that I had, who always saw problems in relation to me losing sight. And I said, what I quickly learned was that if you want to change behavior, you have to, repeat it over and over again. I said, writing a book is going to be a massive repetition project. So let's dive into that. And that became the book, Sentenced to Blindness, Now What? A Journey from Hopelessness to Possibility Road. And yeah, that's out now.
Morten, when did the book come out?
Well, in Denmark, it came out in September 19, and then it took about a year to translate it and get everything ready for publishing in the rest of the world in English. So then a year later it came, and it's available now on Amazon and Apple Books. And I did an audio version of it myself. In my little crypt here, I actually recorded the book as an audiobook, which was kind of a project because when you can only see one word at a time, it's a little interesting when you read a sentence and it say, "Get out of here," he whispered, and oh, okay, I'm gonna take that again. Like, get out of here, he whispered. So there was a lot of editing, but I did that while I was recording. So that was a fun little project. But I really wanted to make the book available as an audiobook because obviously it's about, it is about becoming blind, and I probably, suspected that a lot of blind people or visually impaired people would be interested in it. But it's actually, the book is actually aiming at people who just want to look at themselves and maybe make changes to how they react to challenges and obstacles in life. But yeah,
and we always have challenges and obstacles in life. That's part of the reason why we're here. And
that's a given.
We can always learn from each other's walk. I remember I did my last book, and you're right, that is not for the faint of heart. It was like, apparently I always say the word important wrong. And so the editor's like, you said important wrong 131 times, Deborah. And I'm like, well, I just learned to pronounce important. So yeah. See, I'm learning now. But it's, yeah, you didn't even realize it's quite the exercise, and it must have been so much harder for you because I can see all the words. So wow, bravo. But I think, first of all, I want to do a little commercial for you. And I want to say to the audience, we should buy his book and we should put a review because it's really important. If he gets reviews, it'll help more people find the book. And I think it's important that our community supports our community. So I'm definitely going to get a copy of the book, and I recommend everybody doing that. And the good news too, you can get it on Kindle, and Kindle will read it to you also. I mean, so you got a lot of different options, but let's support our own community. So I'd say that first. But I also, you said something when you were answering Neil that I was fascinated with, when you were talking about how they said, well, you're legally blind. And you're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. But so I really shouldn't have been able to do all this work I've been doing for all these years. But I didn't know that. Now that I know it, can I no longer do it? So that is so powerful. And like you said, this is not a book for people that are blind. I mean, certainly it's a book for people, but what it's about awakening within ourselves, and your blindness is an awakening for you, and
Yeah.
you're using your awakening to help others, because we all really do need, I think we're in a big great awakening right now, but I'm fascinated with that, and I don't know, that feels like such a powerful statement. And I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind thinking and delving into that, because I think that's telling us something about our society and what we tell ourselves, because you didn't know that you weren't supposed to do it. I'm just fascinated with that piece of it.
It's a big topic in the book. When I give lectures and talks, I have this part of the talk where I am interrupted by a voice that is my own, but it's loud, so you hear it like a big echo that is commenting on what I'm saying, because I'm telling about how becoming blind wasn't even my biggest problem. And then I'm being interrupted by this voice, and it just tells me, you have no business being here. You are such an idiot. Go home before people realize that you're just an imposter. You can't do this. Go home. And I noticed when I was facing with all my struggles with how to find out what can I do when I become blind? I noticed that I had an internal dialogue that was never ever cheering on me. It was always doing the opposite. So I and that was due to the awakening. A sort of that's a big word, but it was actually I was sitting at the job center office with people around me from the municipality and from the Blind Association, and I had this moment where I just felt that everything was just over. I couldn't care less if I would continue living or not. I had no point in living anymore. And then I had this moment where that feeling transformed into a huge relief. All the identities just totally collapsed in 1 second. And I just was sitting there and I realized, whoa, what a relief. And I realized that, I can still breathe, I can still hear, and then I had this new voice in my head, and it said, Morten, what do you want out of life? And that was it. That's when I started this journey, and I said, I have to figure out how I can, make becoming blind a super power instead of it being my disadvantage. So I said, okay, what can I? Well, I can tell stories. Like, I'm really good at telling stories, and I'm good at coming up with stories. And I also have this ability that I can convince people of things. I can persuade people of things. Let's put that all into a blender and then see what comes out. And the book came out, and the talks came out, and I give a lot of them now. And my declared mission is that I want to inspire people to believe and to realize that we have much greater potential than we realize today. And I'm when I see the light going on in the eyes of one person in the audience, when they hear that, whoa, it's our choice what we want to do with our life, then that was it. That made my day. So I am inspired by this mission that's the purpose of me becoming blind.
To help others. That's
Yeah.
amazing, powerful story. Antonio?
So, Morten, one of our members of our community, Molly Watt, who's also a keynote speaker, and she's also visually impaired, she sometimes refers to the fact that people don't see her disability. They see her walking to a stage, and they don't see her. So how do you deal with that in your life?
I just 6 months ago I started using the white cane, and it's I can probably do without it, but I realized that I was getting more into trouble than I needed to, because I didn't send a signal to people that I was probably not seeing anything of what's out there. But you couldn't tell that, because when you have RP, your body remembers how it is to act like if you can see here. I've met people with RP who are totally blind, and I couldn't tell that they were totally blind, because they still know where to look, and they still know, you know, often I see people who have never been able to see. They are not always, you know, thinking about what they're doing with their body, with their hands, and with their, because they've never seen. But when you have seen, you know all that, so you can almost go for being a fully sighted person. So recently I started using the white cane. So when I'm in a public area, I just take it out, stand with it, and it has this effect. I was standing with a friend. I was giving a lecture at a company, and I didn't have the cane. And then I took it out, and she said she could literally see that people kept a greater distance between me. When they walked around me, that just it was like it had this effect of people just disappearing from me. And obviously that's something I'm not so fond of, because I just want to be Morten. I don't want to be legally blind Morten. But that's something I'm trying to get used to, the world, to just stand out and be good, be okay with that.
We had another guest on Morten, Darren Rowan from Lilly Pharmaceutical, and he's blind. And he said that one time he was traveling with a coworker, and the coworker said to him, "Hey, I don't know how you do it. I'd rather be dead than be blind." And that's an interesting comment for a coworker to make to you. But
Yeah.
we just started at my company, Billion Strong, an identity organization for the 1.3 billion people with disabilities and those that love us. And it is all about identity. But one thing Dr. Lamondre Pugh had said to me, I'm a person with invisible disabilities. I have neurodiversity issues, ADHD. Neil also joins me with that, and he has dyslexia too. But I have to tell people, you know, that I am part of the community. I'm a mother, blah, 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 but all these different identities. But what Lamondre said, he said something to me that I had not thought about, because I would like the world to understand, I would like society to understand the value that we bring to the table. I mean, Morten, you're a wonderful example. You know, you set the bar super high, but one thing Lamondre said was, I agree, we've definitely got to do that. But I also want to convince the community that we are not broken ourselves. So the work that you did with your book, I think, is a really good way to talk about that. We're hoping you'll come and do a master class for us, because we need master classes of the Mortens of the world saying, you don't need to pity me. You know, maybe just get out of my way, because I've got the world to save. So I just wanted to, you know, make those comments and give you a chance to respond. So
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too, that people would rather die than losing sight. I'm sure they don't mean that when they are standing with the actual choice, but you know, I've heard that a lot. I've heard from people reaching out to me who are sort of hiding and not telling people what they are dealing with and suffering from. And they say to me that the worst thing that can happen to them is when people pity them.
yeah.
And there's something about the being proud and not changing who you are and all that. And I tried to tell them that the way that I deal with that is that if I feel pitied, it is only because I allow that feeling to manifest inside of me. So instead of feeling pity, and maybe I will feel that for a second, and then I have this technique in the book. I call it my stop, swap, thought game. And that's the game is that you have to pay attention to what it is that you are thinking, you know, always. And every time you have a thought that is a negative thought, then I have 5 seconds. I say stop, swap thought, and then I have 5 seconds to change to a positive version of that. And then I can see something else behind the pity is actually love, care, vulnerability, insecurity. You know, all those things are happening outside of me in that person who, you know, who makes that statement of, well, I feel sorry for you. And if you take that as pity, that's your choice. But you can also say, oh, how wonderful that you're thinking of me. I see a huge big heart instead of seeing negativity in that. So I think that's I can't remember who said it. I saw a TEDx talk where she was talking about diversity, and that often, you know, feeling excluded is also something that goes on inside of you. There are people who could react in one way, and then there are people who act in another way, and it comes back to how you interpret, how you process it, and what you sort of take away from it, and then and that's a choice also. So I think yeah, dying is I will prefer to live with blindness instead of dying, but again, I really I know that statement from people.
Yeah, I know that Antonio has a question, and I don't know if Neil has introduced you to Vernon Sankey, who has written a book with Katie Longwood, I think her last name. I'm sorry, Luckley. And Lockwood. Thank you. And it's called The Way, and they have a workbook. And boy, their work is, your work would really complement their work. I would recommend you bring them together, Neil, because they probably would love to know about his work. So anyway, yes. Yeah, Antonio, over to you.
So Morten, you're showing us a Lego of you, okay?
Yep.
Before. So how does your life experience translates into your work and to the teams that you work with? How do you see that experience reflecting in the product design within your team?
I think it has been very difficult, actually. It's I would love to sit here and say that that's just been a glamorous, wonderful experience, and that it has worked smoothly. But I think when you are one of a kind, like I have been in my department, I think people always have the best intentions in the world. You know, there are no people who are, you know, wishing that you would not succeed in some way. But there's so much going on that people cannot relate to because they haven't had the experience. They don't know what it is like to be partly blind when you're sitting in a group of 8 and everyone are pointing in directions and post-its are being put on the wall, or in the recent years we have been working a lot online, so looking at a screen when like 8 mouse cursors are spurting around on the screen, putting things up, and that's difficult because it's on me to be the one saying all the time, you know, I have an issue, I have a problem to follow what's going on. And for me, it has been very difficult because I want to be independent. I want to make it. I want to be good. I want to be as good as I can. And that sometimes comes with admitting that now I'm lost. I don't have a clue. But sometimes when you have that, if you sit in a group with that feeling, you have a tendency to say to yourself, well, wait 20 seconds until you ask a question, but maybe the answer will come in a little while. But then it's almost like sitting in a meeting room and everyone is presenting themselves with their names, and then after 20 minutes, oh, you forgot the name of that person over there, and you think you passed the time where you can actually ask again this person's name. So I think I've had a problem with getting comfortable in the group. I'm sure I could actually be used much more than I'm actually being used now in exploring how can communication be crafted with no vision, for instance. How do you communicate something if you can't see? It takes someone who can't see to figure that out. You have to be blindfolded for a week or 2 and even longer to kind of have to grasp the idea of not being able to see. And yeah, so it hasn't been easy, I must admit.
So no, I can appreciate, especially as we move from those sort of physical designs and in-person workshops to being online, and like you say, everybody trying to do stuff on a Miro board or whatever, and
Yeah.
it flying about. It's also quite cognitively inaccessible. So so there are challenges. I fully agree with you that it's also additionally tiring to be the one going, hey, you've got to stop what you're doing because you're excluding me, and
Yeah.
it's much easier to speak on behalf of other people than it is to speak on behalf of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to say, guys, you need to stop doing that because Morten can't see, than it is for me to put my hand up and say, actually, you're excluding me right now.
Yeah.
So those are things that I think we all find takes some additional energy. At the same time, I think you've had some input into helping make some changes and raise awareness through some of the things. Like, can you tell us a bit about the Braille Lego bricks, for example?
Oh yes. Yeah, that's just a wonderful project that I was invited into. It's I just prepared this little there. I think
Yep.
if you can
Yeah.
see what it
Yes.
says.
HD.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
AXSChat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun. Oh,
Yeah,
fun.
that's just an amazing project that I was it was actually quite late in the process I was invited in. It was the project is, of course, as you can see, transforming 2x4 Lego bricks into Braille letters.
Which is
And
amazing.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's a philanthropical project in the Lego Foundation, and you can't purchase them, but they are given for free to children who are visually impaired, and just to teach children Braille in a playful way. It's I've seen children play, visually impaired and blind children play with the Braille bricks, and it was so heartwarming to see how that was so much fun, compared to the machines that they were typing on and who made the Braille letters. Here there was a playful way to learn the code. Because the texture, actually feeling the small Braille letters, that's obviously not what you get from the Braille bricks, but learning the code in a playful way was really really wonderful to see. So I was invited mostly as a consultant on into the project to share my insights in how is it actually to be be challenged by vision loss. And so that was just a wonderful project to be involved in.
And I love how your all the identity projects, the little characters in wheelchairs and with canes, and I love Legos. If I didn't love them before, I love how you're including all of us. You're such a role model there. So compliments.
Yeah.
So of course, Lego started off as a concept around play, and I think that this is one of the things that I love about the Scandinavian attitude to life, not just the Danish attitude, but that play is part of learning, and it's valued in a way that I think that it's not valued in lots of other parts of the world.
True.
And Lego's been famous for having this concept of serious play.
Yeah.
So how do you think we could take something like serious play and adapt the concepts to help spread the ideas about disability inclusion? Can we take some of the learnings and the methodology and use that to help people understand both the challenges that people face, but also still extract and visualize the potential?
Oh, that was a tough one. I think if I just Well, I go with what my gut tells me to say right now. I think serious play is a very uh, it's a wonderful way to be brave in in matters that are, you know, not often playful. So now, if you have a problem to solve in a company or in a group or in a team, sometimes it can be difficult to just talk about that. But if you can play around the problem instead of so coming up with ideas that you can actually build that is solving a very tangible problem is a way to bypass that barrier of fear of, you know, admitting something or being too personal about something, but you can actually express yourself through Lego bricks. And I think maybe when I think about it in the context of disability, I think there could be some in there as well to look at, or maybe there already is being looked at that, but using bricks as sort of a medium to express what is difficult to express. I think that could be something interesting. And again, because it's a play. It's, you know, it's a playful environment. We are playing. It's not serious right now, even though it's called serious play. But we are just, you know, playing now, and it's allowed to make mistakes and to express yourself through bricks. It's harmless in a way, but you still have you know, a way to express something that may be difficult to talk about or to bring up in the team. I think that was just a very, very improvised answer.
No, it's fine, because I mean, I put you on the spot. But I think that often the issues around disability are things that people feel uncomfortable talking about.
Yes.
And that therefore taking it out of the serious business environment, the sort of finger wagging, you've done something wrong, or you're not performing, or it's a legal requirement environment, into one where it's a let's creatively look at the challenges and solve problems, could have quite some positive impact.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think the mindset behind it is interesting. Sometimes I think, you know, even me working at the Lego group, building with Lego bricks all the time, sometimes I can be challenged when someone, you know, can you build what you just said? I said, how the heck am I going to do that? Like, but it is challenging your way to approach problems in a more hands-on way than talking and thinking and writing. You build something, and maybe it's a very abstract construction you are creating, but it has a meaning. It comes from somewhere, and you can somehow express something that you maybe didn't that you weren't able to do with words or letters or yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, there's something for us to explore over time, for sure. So I think we're pretty much close up on our time. So I need to thank the people that keep us on air, that help us stay captioned and accessible. So Barclays Access, Microlink, and MyClearText. I'm really looking forward to a vibrant discussion on Twitter on Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon for you, Deborah. Middle of the night in India. Because we were getting some complaints, some slight gripes. I never get to play because it's always at the same time. Thank you, Morten. It's been a real pleasure. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we speak. So I'm really looking forward to Tuesday and a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.